Yeah, we were really delighted to host the roundtable again this year, the government roundtable. A great way to kick off mining week in London, great way to kick off the sort of resourcing tomorrow schedule for the week. I thought it was an excellent event. It was a very broad set of conversations. We had a really good mix of people. 66 governments, I think, participated, with the corporate sector in, a lot of investors, a lot of other mining experts. So it was a really well-rounded debate, I thought, on some of the key issues. Mining is a really important sector for the London Stock Exchange. So we have about 170 companies on market. It's about $600 billion of market cap. It's about 13% of the world's market cap across the whole mining sector. So it's a big sector in London, and obviously covers some of the big majors around the world, but also about 100 of those 170 companies have market caps of under $100 million. So it really is right the way through, from the juniors through to the majors. So for us, it's a way of really exploring the issues that are affecting our listed companies. It's a way of exploring what are the barriers to getting more companies to coming and listing in the future and raising capital, and generally for what else can be done to ensure there's a sort of broader, thriving ecosystem in the mining sector. I'm looking forward to a number of the events, actually. There's some really good panel discussions, covering, I think, a lot of the sort of key issues. Inevitably, I think some of the themes that we're seeing across more broadly in society at the moment, whether it's sort of AI and sustainability, I think are really playing an important role again this year. I also sense around the topic we were discussing a lot yesterday around critical minerals, there's a real sense of urgency now that I think continues to accelerate every year. So again, no easy answers in that sector. There are some challenges, but I think it's going to be really interesting to get everyone's perspectives on how we can sort of take the conversation on that forward again this year. I think you just get a lot more out of in-person events. I think we all made do during COVID, doing webinar after webinar. I think people got slightly sort of fatigued with that. It still has a place, and we do quite a lot of sort of digital marketing. We do a lot of sort of digital sort of short form webinars, but I think you can't sort of pack in the kind of content that you want into just a purely online session. I think it's a really good way of sort of getting everyone together. It's a good time of year as well. At this time of year, people are sort of busy getting their sort of budget sorted for next year. Maybe taking stock of what's happened during 2025 and planning, for 26. So I think people come into a conference at this time of year very sort of, philosophical about what's ahead, as well. So I think there's a lot to look forward to this week. I think the message is that the markets are still open. It hasn't been the easiest time for financing, equity financing in the metals and mining sector globally. I think it's had its challenges, but in London we've seen 6 new listings this year in the sector, and again that goes from Metlen at the large cap end that's just entered the FTSE 100, Valterra Platinum at the large cap end that listed in London on its demerger from Anglo American, but also we've seen 4 new entrants at the smaller end, reverses onto the London market. A carve out from a small AIM business again. So we've seen 6 listings overall. We've seen about $3 billion raised in the sector this year. Again, quite a lot of that was in a placing of Valterra Platinum, so we shouldn't get too complacent. But the market's still open for good, high quality stories, and so underscoring that we're doing everything we can at the exchange to make it still as good a place as possible for companies to come and raise further capital. I think the London market broadly has done a lot in the last couple of years to try and address some of the issues that people had raised in the past. Been huge rule changes in our main market to make it easier for companies to list, make it easier for companies once they're listed to raise further capital. We've just seen in the last couple of weeks a discussion paper on AIM put out. AIM is a market, our growth market, which a lot of mining companies continue to use, and there'll be some further changes sort of coming through next year to make that market even more sort of vibrant and attractive. So I think we're lots going on the sort of reform side to make it more straightforward. Also a lot of focus, of course, on getting the capital to flow as freely as we can into the UK markets. And I think some of the things that the government announced last week in the budget, so capping cash ISAs, wanting people and encouraging people to use the balance of their overall ISA allowance to go into stocks and shares, invest for the future. I think it's going to be a good tailwind for the market. Clearly the government are looking at potential further pension fund reform as well. So I think if those things, again, both sort of fall into place as we expect they will, then over the next sort of year or two, there'll be a really nice sort of investor tailwind into the London market, which would be great.